Good morning and welcome to
Kids Club.
From Here, the Curate Study. I'm Reverend Mark Kerslake.
And I'm Sam.
And he's Sammy. It's good to have you back, my friends, with us here for Kids Club in the Curate Study for a great week. This is a great week for us in the church because from this Sunday we can start having church services again in our churches, which we haven't been able to do for a very long time. So it's a great weekend for us this weekend. We're looking forward to it. We've got lots of work to do to make it happen. Now, I don't know if you remember that last week we were talking about how Paul, who had been called Saul and had been a bad man persecuting Christians, had met Jesus and his life had changed so much that he became a different man. He became Paul. He was renamed even. And Paul had travelled around talking about his meeting with Jesus and helping create new churches all over the place. But Paul wasn't the first person to build a sort of church. So today, because we're talking about going back into our churches, the buildings that were in towns and cities and villages all over our country and all over the world, I thought we could have a story about the building of the first church many, many years ago. Only back then, over 3,000 years ago, they weren't called churches, they were called temples. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. But I can't believe it because I've been talking for ages and you know who hasn't turned up. But I got a nasty feeling I can hear footsteps in the hallway. Hang on. Yes, here he is.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Noble.
Noble who?
Nobel. Oh, that's why I'm knocking.
Do you think he sits at home practicing these all week? I'm not so sure. Anyway, Sammy, do you want to bring us our story today?
Okay. Perhaps the most important thing about Solomon did was build the Temple of God in Jerusalem. The huge building took 7 years to build. It would last 400 years. Cedar wood and gold covered the temple inside and out. The best bronzesmiths, artists and sculptors made beautiful figures. They covered the ceilings and walls with bright designs. When the temple was finished, Solomon called together all of God's chosen people. The priests brought the ark containing the 10 Commandments. They placed it in a special room inside the temple. A cloud which covered the Lord came down upon the temple then. The people knew that the Lord was very close to them. Solomon prayed, God, thank you that I was able to build this temple for you. Thank you that my father David planned it. But even this temple is not good enough. No place is big or high enough for you. You made the earth and the sky. Please, Lord, let this temple be a place where people can always find you. Afterward, God appeared to Solomon. He said, if you do what I tell you, I will live in this temple. I will listen to the prayers of the people who come into this place. Solomon also built a magnificent palace for himself. This palace took 13 years to build. His throne room was like no other, made of gold and jewels. Then he built a beautiful palace for one of his many wives. This was the daughter of the Egyptian pharaoh. Solomon needed many workers for these building projects. All the men who belonged to the former enemy tribes became Solomon's workers, as did his own people. Solomon was very rich. Every day he ate out of golden plates and bowls. He used golden knives and forks. His cups were made out of gold. Even his clothes had gold threads sewn into the fabric. The most important part of Solomon's reign was how he judged the people with fairness. He wrote, let the mountains bring peace to the people. May the king save the children of all needy and crush the ones who hurt them. More than anything else, Solomon wanted to take good care of God's people. He was always able to do this as long as he followed God's laws.
Wow, imagine taking that long to build the temple and the houses as well. Solomon was a very famous and wise king. And to say, he built the first temple. I mean, we know, of course, now that God doesn't live in churches, but you can actually speak to God anywhere, wherever you want to go. But many people still love to come to church and feel that they're very special buildings. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that. Let's see what Angela is going to do for us today for our craft.
Hello and welcome to Kids Club Craft Time. Today we heard the story about the building of King Solomon's temple, and so I thought it would be fun to gather things up from around the house and build our own temple. So as you can see, I have raided our herbal tea selection. The boxes aren't actually empty, but I've also raided the recycling, and I've got various different boxes. I have cut up the side and folded them inside out so as not to show brand names and things. I also have a numerous amount of empty toilet rolls, and what I've done with them is cut them like that, just to make this end smaller so we can make columns, because I think King Solomon's temple is quite renowned for its columns, so I thought we could start like that, and really it's just a case of using your imagination. So I also have some branded but non-branded stackable wooden blocks, so you could use these. I'm trying not to show the name, but you all know what I mean. And you can build, we can make walls like this. So we've got, oh dear, and that's half the fun. So we can build it up again. I also thought it would be quite fun if you didn't have blocks, or you could use Lego, or you could build up your temple in the lounge with cushions, and if you ask Mum and Dad, blankets and sheets. That's what I spent a lot of my rainy days as a child, making dens in the lounge with various pieces of bedding and blankets. So it's basically just having a bit of fun. If you do make cardboard, if you use your recycling, so I find that cereal boxes are really good to make big structures, or if you've been doing some online shopping and you've got some boxes hanging about, then that is really good too. You can try and make a big temple that's actually big enough for you to sit inside. Oh, there we go. Well, I'm going to carry on trying to finish my temple. I hope it's given you some ideas for some fun today, and I look forward to seeing some comments in or an email from the Curate Study with pictures of the temple that you've built. But I'll leave you to go and use your imagination and explore, and I'm going to finish doing my temple now. See you again soon. Bye.
Well, that was good, wasn't it? I hope you have a go at it, and I hope you enjoy it. As I say, if you want to send a photograph of what you've made, send it in to me at fromthecuratesstudy@gmail.com, and then Sammy and I can have a look at it. That would be great. Sammy is going to lead us in a prayer, and this prayer is a special prayer, because this prayer is a prayer that Jesus himself taught those people that followed him to say, and it's called the Lord's Prayer, and this is a prayer that is said in churches all over the world every single week. Sammy?
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power and the glory, forever and ever. Amen.
Amen. It's amazing to think, isn't it, of how many millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of Christians have said that prayer for almost 2,000 years, and we will be saying it in our churches again this Sunday. So I hope you've enjoyed our story and our prayer and Angie's craft, and I hope you'll join us again next week for another Kids Club. Till we meet again, my friends, may God hold you in the palm of his hand. God bless.